remedied. And if I'm not the soul of your design.
What's up, Internet? I'm Aries Van Dam. Hope you had a good weekend. I know it's cold as can be outside right now.
Don't box me in. Don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be.
Ooh, sorry about that. So I want to thank a couple of y'all came out for the content quest this weekend. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank Nappy K96, who kept me company and with all his comments and got me on a bunch of rants. So if you want to find out more about my worldview, go watch that video. That's you'll get a lot of it. So let's see. Today the debate I'm wanting to check out is Andrew Wilson versus Misfit Patriot. And Misfit Patriot is so dumb. I think Andrew beat him so bad he gave him an eating disorder. And that's not a joke. I'm not trying to be funny or anything here with this. This is him. You'll see him in the debate in a minute, and he's like just a regular guy. He went on Alex Stein a couple of months later, and poof, he exploded. Look at that. So if you want to see how that man got an eating disorder, we're going to see it today. And I'm going to jump right into it because I think it's an hour and a half. I'm going to try and stick it through the whole thing, but I do too much interrupting, so I've been told. So let's get into it and see. Oh, remove that. And let's check out the video. I'm going to try and put it down here. No, I'm under Andrew. Let's do it this way. Wait, where'd it go? There we go.
I don't even really know why Andrew wants to debate me, because I think that it's going to be a theological thing. And as I stated in the last debate with, I believe it's his friend, Jay something.
He's talking about Jay Dyer. Jay Dyer got tired of his trolling and just said, I'm not debating you. You're too stupid, and left because he was just being a clown. He's going to do a little bit of that here, but Andrew is really patient, and he has the same patience he shows on whatever podcast with the 304s. He shows it here with Misfit Patriot, and it pays off because he thoroughly scrubs him. So I'm not
a biblical scholar, and I think that there is a lot of rhetoric around like this. These people's interpretation of the Bible. The Bible can be contextualized, right? Unlike the Quran, it's like you can be open to interpretation, and everybody's got their own opinion about what this meant and what that meant. And you get a lot of chat GPT Christians out there who go, oh, well, this is actually what happened, and this is actually what happened. And a lot of it is either bullshit or confirmation bias. So the argument that I was trying to make in the previous debate, which I was kicked out of because Jay didn't like being trolled, which again wasn't even a debate. I like the fact that we're actually doing a moderator here, and hopefully we're going to have an actual discussion, and it's not going to be just cheap tricks and fucking gaslighting. The argument that I was trying to make is, yes, Christians should support Zionism because just the simple fact that Jesus was a Jew. I mean, I don't understand that. And there's going to be people that are like, no, he wasn't. He was a Christian. Yeah, he was a Jew. I think that a lot of this, cherry picking and trying to figure out whether or not you are accurately interpreting whether or not there's some replacement theology or suppressionism versus the dual covenant, which is what I believe. It really doesn't matter. You should support Zionism because Jesus forgave the Jews. The Jews are decent people that deserve.
Forgave them for what? What do you have to forgive them for?
A right to their homeland. You can make the theological debate for Zionism, or you can make the modern Zionism debate, which Theodore Herzl started, which he wasn't even trying to go to Israel. He was trying to go anywhere just so that they could escape persecution. I argue both. But I can argue the theological debate, but somebody like Andrew, who's probably more versed in the Bible, is going to be able to rattle off a bunch of passages and try to trip me up, and you'll probably be fine doing that. That could be a neat little tactic. Or you can understand that I might not know all of those passages off the top of my head, and you can try to talk to me like I was hoping the last person would talk to me. Speak to me like a general, normal Christian who doesn't know everything you know. And I think we can have a
lead me the way I want to be led.
Respectful debate that's an actual debate. If you're ready to do that, I'm ready to do that. And I think that we should get on with it. That's good enough for me.
Thank you, Misfit. Andrew, to you.
Yeah, so wasn't expecting the we should support Zionism because Jesus was a Jew argument, but here we are. So this debate is somewhat strange because the prompt, while straightforward, doesn't really afford much wiggle room to my opponent. Now, so that the audience and he understands, there was no trickery here. I proposed a different debate prompt, which was, should Christians support Zionism based on the Bible? That debate prompt actually made a lot more sense and was ultimately far more charitable to my opponent, but for some reason he insisted on rejecting it, opting for the prompt, should Christians support Zionism, with him in the affirmative instead. The reason this is strange to me is because I don't really understand how you can tell a Christian they should do anything at all, absent biblical grounding or Christian ethics as the base of the ought. I just don't even understand how that could be done. He's actually debating the affirmative that Christians should do a thing here, but rejects they should do it based on the Bible. Note here that any arguments made from the Bible being the basis for why Christians should support Zionism are going to be rejected by me, as he rejected that prompt altogether, opting for the more difficult ought claim. I can only
just based off preference, in other words,
assume this is because he doesn't really understand debate very well or what we're trying to determine here. Now that I said I essentially think the arguments, and this is essentially what I think his arguments will be, and I was proven right. Ultimately, he'll default to is the Bible, or he'll default to a biblical argument, which is going to make this even more strange, even because he rejected the prompt. So it's very strange. But now to the arguments themselves. My opponent will likely use the following arguments, and I'll refute them all right now, and I'll refute them during the debate. 1, Christians should support Israel or Zionism, or they are supporting X group. This is a common argument, but it's fallacious immediately. It's a false dilemma argument. 2, Christians should support Zionism because Jewish people deserve a homeland. You saw he already made that argument. While not a fallacious argument, he would then need to apply this to every other group which exists in order to be consistent, which would include Palestinians. 3, Israel is currently fighting a justified war. This argument's also fine. It's just, it doesn't tell us why Christians should support it, even if he thinks it's justified. 4, back to the biblical thing that he doesn't want to talk about, just because I think he'll default to this anyway. I just figure I'll go ahead and address it. He'll bring up Genesis 12:3, which I rightly should reject, as the biblical justifications were already rejected by him, but I'll engage anyway and offer multiple refutations, including Romans and Galatians, starting with Romans 9:6-13, continuing into church history, church father teachings on this, as well as the Bible itself. 5, ultimately, my opponent will simply come down to what he prefers, and he prefers Zionism. That's fine, but he can't really criticize people who don't prefer Zionism. Now, to my arguments for why Christians shouldn't support Zionism. 1, the lack of justification for an ought. The Bible doesn't say Christians must support the modern state of Israel anywhere, so there isn't a compelling reason as to why Christians should do so. 2, any justification for why Christians should support Zionism falls well outside of just USA interests, but into Christians all over the globe, including Palestinian Christians and Orthodox that reside there. And he essentially will have to support why Christians in Gaza should support Zionism, which I'm really going to enjoy watching him try to do. 3, I don't believe there's any magic blood theory and that any peoples are protected by God, or that you're told to protect certain peoples by God based on their blood from the Christian view, as clarified by Paul. 4, that Christian ethics is very clear on what ought or ought not be done by Christians, and that there are many justifications in the current war, which for Christian ethics would be to support the millions of innocent lives in Gaza, including Christians and children, and support the innocent lives of Jews in Israel. We can do both. 5, there is no great imperative here. Even if there is a war being fought on one side, and one side has justification over another for Christians to act at all, which would include support for one side or the other, under Christian ethics, caring for those wounded on both sides, assisting in aid for those who no longer have homes, and caring for refugees falls under the ethical purview far better than picking a side to support in this long-standing conflict with military aid or weapons or manpower. Globally, the most ethical thing for Christians to do if they can't stop a war, I can certainly argue against supporting a war on either side. 6, my last argument is that neutrality in conflict is also a very workable solution when it comes to Middle Eastern affairs, especially for Christians who are often put in unworkable moral dilemmas where support for either side of a conflict may not be just or virtuous, but rather staying out of the conflict to focus on their own people groups may indeed be the most just and virtuous thing they can do. I'd like to hear his argument against neutrality as well. Ultimately, my read on this guy is he's just kind of a typical neocon, and that's it. I don't have any bad blood against him or personal issues with him. I don't know him, but his arguments on this that I've researched are very flimsy, and that's exactly what I'm here to show. Lastly, I actually take debate seriously, so of course I prepared ahead for my opponent's positions and his standards for them, and I doubt he did the same. And I was, of course, right. I wrote this.
Oh no, I definitely
statement,
didn't.
No preparation.
But I knew that would be the case. Unlike Jay Dyer, who doesn't have patience for this kind of thing, there is no escape. I won't kick you. I won't toss you. I won't in the stream. And you are fucking trapped here with me for hours. May God have mercy on your soul, because I'm not going to. With I'd like to dive right into the open dialogue.
That's Sarah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let me just do a little switch on the screen to fix this. It's bothering me now. And just a kind reminder,
That's Sarah, the moderator. She might hear her. They've cut it to where you don't see her in the original. You can see her down at the bottom, but they've cut it this way. So that is Sarah from Raging Tomato. Don't go subscribe to her.
We will go into open panel after this debate is done. We will do about 2 hours of debate. We will read and respond to super chats, and then we'll go into open panel dumpster fire. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share from wherever you're watching from. Outside of that, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Okay, so my first question to you, and we can get to your cross-examination later if you'd like to. Why ought Christians support Zionism? First, can you give us a definition of Zionism, and then why Christians ought to support it? I'm sorry. We'll start with that.
From what I understand, Zionism is the right to the Jewish people to live in peace in their native homeland. That's the way I view it.
And hang on, I just want to clarify a couple points as we go. I don't mean to cut you off.
Sure.
I'll give you plenty of time to speak, but I want to clarify the Jewish homeland being Israel, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so it's actually
the land of Israel, basically the land that God promised Abraham and his descendants.
So
so it's the right of the Jewish people to Israel or not? To the modern state of Israel.
So anywhere they choose is Israel, I guess.
Israel.
Not the modern state. No.
Okay, so where is this Israel that they're promised?
Well, then there's the debate of where is it, right? Based on the Bible, and there's the greater Israel, so they can go back to the Bible.
Well,
I'm not making that
debating
argument.
any of that yet.
I'm saying
just wanting to know where it is and what it is and what Zionism is.
Sure. I don't have the map in front of me, but let's just use Israel, the modern state, because apparently the Jews have accepted that concession. So let's just put it there, just for argument's sake.
So wherever they want.
The right of the Jewish people to live in Israel in peace.
Sure. Yeah.
And
exactly.
And that they have a right to Israel, correct?
Yeah. The right that I would argue is, again, both from a theological debate and just from a debate that it is their ancestral homeland. I mean, they can be traced back to it more than any Arab, Palestinian, or other person.
We know this without looking at the map too.
Somebody might make the argument, well, the Native Americans and blah, blah, blah over here. And yes, I understand. But the Jewish people have been persecuted over thousands of years and pushed out of every other place. So I'm not trying to make this confusing or conflating two completely different things. I'm just saying I do believe in both, where the Jewish people in the modern state of Israel, under modern Zionism, Theodore Herzl's idea would apply based off of their modern persecution, but they've also been persecuted in this, multi-thousand-year-old holy war.
Well, hang on. Before we get to the reasoning, which I'm happy to dive into, I just want to make sure that we're clear on the semantics here. So the right of the Jewish people to live in Israel in peace.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. And it's also their right to that land, correct?
I would say so.
Okay. Got it.
Because they fought for it, yeah.
So you would accept that I'm not strawmanning your definition if I say the right of the Jewish people to live in Israel and the right of Israel to that land.
Correct, yeah.
And that would be the Jewish people who then have the right to that land, right?
That is my argument. Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, that not your argument, just your definition of Zionism.
Yeah, my definition of Zionism.
Okay.
To simplify it.
So, what's your argument for this right?
Once again, the not only
still doesn't.
the promise, the Abrahamic covenant, but mixing that in with the persecution that they've endured, trying to fight for their homeland, in conjunction with what I know you don't believe this, but I believe that the Abrahamic covenant by God, who is omnipotent, is forever. I believe he promised it to Abraham and his descendants. I think that you have to, and I'm sure people will disagree with this, when you apply that to the Jews, there's some people that are going to say, oh, but then you'd have to trace back every person's lineage to Abraham. I'm of a different, of a perspective where I think that the people who, convert to Judaism and accept Judaism and under the Judaism religion started by, the 12 tribes of Israel and Jacob and all that stuff. And I might butcher this, by the way. Again, just want to clarify, I'm not great with theological accuracy on the little things. But from my understanding, Abraham's sons, 12 tribes of Israel, I believe it was, then their descendants created a great nation. So the nation of Israel is what is the umbrella that the Jews are protected under this covenant. As far as I can tell, that's my interpretation of it. And those people who are all included in there, I believe as Christians who follow Christ, who loved the Jewish people, who was a Jew himself, the King of Jews, would agree with that. My argument is, again, like you said, well, if Jesus was a Jew, then it's not really that simple. It's what would Jesus do? Would Jesus be a Zionist? And I think that
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
if you are a follower of Christ, you want to emulate Christ, I think Christ would be a Zionist. So I am trying to follow that lead.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that I steelman your argument correctly. I'm going to summarize it. If there's something that I'm missing, please let me know.
Sure.
So you think that essentially Jesus would be a Zionist. In other words, he would want the modern Jewish state of Israel to be there, and that he would want the people to have a right to that land in the modern Jewish state, and he would want Christians to support that right based on the old Abrahamic covenant, which has to do with the two children. You're talking about, I'm guessing, Isaac. That's what you're referencing, right? The covenant. Okay, so
Sure.
So based on that, you think that Christians should support. Now, just to kind of go through this argument, let me offer up a couple of very quick questions before I give you any refutations. First, should Christians fight on behalf of Jews for this right?
That's a good question. It's a complicated question, but I would say that the Christians should have the option to fight next to their brothers under Christ, but as nation,
Hear that? His God says violence is okay as long as you're doing it for the Jews.
making decisions, no.
Well, I
I'm
don't
trying to-
understand.
So
If
like the
Christians-
United States, like a Christian nation.
So
like the
how
United
ought
States-
Christians support Israel then? How ought they support the Jews?
Well, they should just support them. Like,
What does that mean?
Well,
we just go yay? We just go yay? Like what does
Okay.
that mean?
Yes, then they should. That's why I said, are you talking about?
I'm asking
going-
how
going
ought
in- Are you talking
Christians?
about under modern?
Yeah, I'm asking how
modern
ought
rules of
Christians
fighting?
support
Should
this
we-
right?
Should we arm up and stand next to
No, I'm
them?
asking you how ought Christians support this
Well,
right that you
fight-
claim?
Yes, they should fight with them, but fight is a subjective term. I don't know if you're meaning it in the literal definition of Christians.
I didn't ask you about fighting. I asked how they ought. How ought they support them?
They should support them just with moral encouragement, with just
Go Jews! All right.
acknowledgement.
So
Just
cheerlead.
Yeah, if you want to call it that, sure.
So Christians ought to support this endeavor by cheerleading it.
Now you're putting words in my mouth.
You
I
just
said
said
that they
that.
should
Well, I
offer
asked
moral
you
support-
literally if you mean
offer moral
cheerleading, and you
support,
said yes.
offer moral support, offer
Moral support.
just offer condemnation of people that are trying to persecute them and push them out. And if necessary, then yes, they can stand and physically fight next to their Jewish brothers and sisters.
Okay. Ought Christians give aid to Palestinians who are innocent, who get blown up in this conflict, even if that would in some way aid hamper Israel's effort to their right of this land? Ought Christians, in other words,
Should Christians
give aid to the enemies of Israel in order to secure their right to this land, even if it involves children and women and things like this who are innocent?
In my opinion, the enemies of Israel wouldn't be true Christians. So no.
So we ought not. So if there's children, so Christians who are in Palestine right now are not Christians.
If they are supporting the genocide of the Jewish people, no, they're not following. They're not following.
What if they're
Christ.
just neutral?
If they're neutral, then yeah, we should help them. We should support them. I have nothing against the Palestinian peaceful people, especially the Christians.
Well, what if that in some way hinders the Israeli effort to have a right to their land? Ought we then help?
The Israelis aren't trying to slaughter Christians.
Yeah, that's not what I asked. I didn't ask what they're doing.
But
I
how,
asked
so
if
how,
it
would, how would it hinder them?
So you would agree with me that inside of war, innocents die. There's no way around that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so in this case, there's going to be a lot of neutral people who are in Gaza, who are going to get hurt quite badly, who Christians can aid, right? However, this could in some way hinder the Israelis' plan for whatever their plan is for a right to their land. Let's say that they have a plan, for instance, to eliminate all the Gazans eventually, or whatever it is. That could actually hinder them. So should we just not render any aid to those people?
Well, no, it's a very complex question. You're talking about how do you execute a war with killing 0 people, even the ones that you align with, religiously, brothers and sisters in Christ. There's no right answer. I mean, there's no
right answer.
It's the trolley analogy. You have
not a trolley analogy.
It is. I mean,
you're
gonna have people are going to die.
No. The trolley analogy is giving you a bifurcated choice. There's only 2. This is not a choice where there's only 2. There's 20,000 different choices which could be made, right? What I'm asking you is if Christians ought to support Israel in its endeavor to right to the land, if that is the case, and in any way, shape, or form by rendering aid to what Israel considers to be its enemies, however it classifies them, are Christians doing the wrong thing?
No, once again, Israel does not view the Christians in Palestine as their enemy. So
that's not my question. My question isn't about an is statement. It's about an ought statement. I'm not descriptively asking you what is the case right now. Let me finish the question.
Go ahead.
Here's my question. Very simple. Okay. If the situation, let's just say for a second that Jews decided that all Gazans are the enemies of Israel. All of them.
Yeah, you're posing a hypothetical.
Yeah, I know. What's wrong with hypotheticals? You don't like them?
No, they're not real. This isn't a real.
Yeah, I understand, but that's how we test logic is with hypotheticals, right? You agree?
Okay, so if Israel wanted to do what it's not doing,
This dude's a professional debater. He goes around debating people, and he never heard a hypothetical used to test your logic.
What would I say that they should do that they're not doing?
No. Let me ask them. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, how would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast this morning?
Here we go.
What do you mean?
How would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast this morning?
Probably hungry.
Yeah, probably. So you can't engage with hypotheticals, right? Even though you did not, in fact, eat breakfast this morning, you do know how you would feel if indeed you had not eaten breakfast this morning. Sure. Therefore, I know that you can use reason. So since we're moving into the idea of reason, can I just ask you to reason this out for me? Your position is that Israel has a right to this land and that Christians ought to support that right. So if it were the case that Israel decided to classify all Gazans as enemies of Israel, should not Christians support that?
If Israel decided to classify all Gazans,
all Palestinians, yes,
then I would say no.
Okay, but that's a contradiction. Then you just got caught in a logical contradiction. It is, because if it is the case logically that we ought to support the right, we ought to support. Yeah, but if we ought to support the right of Israel to have this nation, then anybody who Israel classifies as an enemy, why ought Christians say no? Is it because we should defer to Christian ethics?
Well, they wouldn't be acting in the adherence of the Torah, that then we wouldn't be supporting them. Again, a hypothetical. So you're saying that
Why
if
wouldn't we be
Israel-
supporting them?
You're
That's
saying
weird.
that if Israel wanted to commit
As if they're not a secular nation right now.
genocide, should Christians support it? I'm saying no, because
Yeah,
they're
but
not.
why? Why not?
Because it's wrong to commit genocide.
So then we shouldn't defer to Israel's right.
You're making
to
a logical
this-
fallacy.
so wait, so
They're
hang
not
on.
doing it. They're not
So
doing it.
that's not a logical fallacy. They're not doing something. It's not a logical. Can you name the fallacy? Is it that you just made it the fuck up fallacy?
You are creating a scenario that doesn't exist, and
In order to
asking
test
me
your logic,
and
that's
asking me
correct.
to answer a hypothetical that does not exist.
Oh, okay.
Right?
If the glass fell off your desk and onto the hard ground,
if a purple
Yeah.
elephant flew around the room, what would I do? It's a fucking stupid question.
why is it stupid?
Because it's not in reality.
So most hypotheticals are not in reality because they're designed to test,
Well,
logic.
why don't you come back to reality and pose a
I'm in
hypothetical that
reality right
that
now.
actually exists.
What we're trying to do is make a determination as to whether or not we should actually support the right of Jews to have this state, even if it violates Christian ethics. And you say no, and I'm trying to figure out and ascertain why, because I thought we're supposed to and ought to support this.
We should.
But you're saying no, we only ought to support it under certain conditionals. So what are those conditionals? That's what I'm asking.
The condition would be that
You can see the cognitive dissonance on his face. You can see how it pains him.
Israel and the Jewish people act in accordance with their faith, because they are only our brothers and sisters, right? Under the same Judeo-Christian value system, if they adhere to that value system. So I wouldn't support somebody that wasn't adhering to that value system. So if they wanted to commit genocide, I would say, no, you can't support genocide.
So if Israel became a secular nation, you wouldn't support it anymore?
I mean, I don't really know what that would look like.
Why don't you tell me how many secular Jews are in Israel right now?
Here we go.
I do not know the answer to that.
Oh,
So you don't even know if they're secular or not secular.
No, I do not.
So you don't even know if you would support them if they were secular or weren't secular?
No, I don't know about your
You don't know.
hypotheticals.
You don't know. So okay.
Look it up.
Hang on. Let's take a look.
Sure.
We'll just take a peek. Pull up the stats, right?
Sure. I'm trying to do it myself.
Mhm.
And while they're
So
looking, just to kind of
about 32.9% of Jews in Israel identify as traditional, and 11.5% identify as religious, according to the 2023 statistics. So I would just like to note, I thought that one of your conditionals was that the Jews there had to be practicing, Judaism, and it appears that most of them
11.
aren't.
Did you say? I thought you said 11%. I might have misheard you.
Yeah, sorry, 11.5% identify as religious. 11.5%.
44.9% of Jews identify as secular, and 45% of Jews. Yeah. Okay. So
you're supporting the secular. So we ought not to
10%.
actually support Israel because it's a secular nation. They're not following your conditionals, right?
Well, I mean, did God put a stipulation on the Jews?
I thought you said it didn't have anything to do with blood. You said it had nothing to do with blood because it would also associate with converts. So your criteria. So hang on. So your criteria for this actually is what? That they have to be following Jewish ethics, and right now they have a secular state. Can you reconcile that for me, sir?
Okay, so we're supposed to ignore the 44.9% that do follow the religion because they're living with. They're living with. Right?
So your criteria was we're supposed to support it because
they all
no. Listen, this is what you said. We should support the state of Israel because there are brothers, because they follow the Torah and they follow biblical ethics. And hang on, and the case is actually it's a secular state, right?
2.8 million of the 6.3 million Jews there.
So he's going to go look for better statistics. That's the first thing they always do whenever they get crushed. They got to go find better statistics.
Okay. So there's more Jews that are religious than are not.
That's
Right,
not what
so-
I'm reading. No.
Well, we're getting different statistics. Either way,
Well,
no.
now we are.
I'll answer your question. No, it does not have to be 100% of the Jews.
Well, how
need to
many?
be- well, we could use Sodom and Gomorrah as an example, right? 50.
So just one?
Just one. Yeah.
So just one. So if there's just one practicing
Just one
Jew in
practicing
Israel,
Jew, and we got to support the whole thing because we follow the word of God. Look, bless
and
you.
that's
I bet there's one even in Gaza. I bet there's one in every nation. So I guess we just got to support them all.
not. That doesn't seem to you to be absurd and stupid at all, does
Look,
it?
bless thee that bless them is
Uh-huh.
referring to the Jews, and I'm agreeing with you. It's probably the people that are practicing their faith, right,
Uh-huh.
or that could eventually come back to Christ, right? So let's call it the religious Jews. If you have
Uh-huh.
a large number of religious Jews living in their homeland, I believe they have a right to their homeland.
How many?
Now, if you have them mixed in
Yeah, how
with
many,
Where's
though?
their homeland?
Hold on. If you have them mixed in with these non-practicing Jews, right? Are we
Mhm.
supposed to say, oh, because some of you don't follow the teachings of the Torah, then we have to now get rid of all of you because you're just not following our standard of
Well, help me
should
out
do.
here. If you go ahead, take a second, look it up. Is Israel becoming more or less secular? Go ahead.
I think the whole world is
Yeah, is Israel becoming more or less secular?
probably. Yeah,
Probably what? More or
A
less?
lot- the entire world is
Yeah,
moving
so
further
my
and further
question
away
is
from God.
Israel becoming more or less secular?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I don't-
probably what? More or less is
A or
it's a
B,
multiple
dickhead.
choice.
A or
It's not
B.
a yeah, probably. If
More
I asked you if you
secular.
were tall or short, you wouldn't say yeah, probably, because you
Yeah,
would look like a
understand.
fucking idiot, right?
I understand.
So more or
Yeah,
less.
I understand that you're used to like debating OnlyFans people. You're not gonna like
They
get
make way
battle-
better arguments
Yeah.
than you do, sir. So
You're
back to
not-
the
Much
issue,
better.
If we could just,
You're not gonna trip me up. I'm
sure
not.
that
some
you're
fucker
used to
that gets
debating
into a
about
fucking
whether
chat.
you want another patty on your cheeseburger. But if we get back to the fucking argument, that would be great.
Are
you
you gonna
tell
get triggered? Are
me-
you gonna get triggered? You can't.
You
put
look,
me in
you're the
that.
one who looks triggered. So anyway, can you answer my question, please?
I'd rather look triggered than retarded.
Yes, your bullshit question. I already answered it. More.
Yeah, so more. Okay, great. So then you would say that even though that's a hypothetical, what if Israel becomes almost purely secular nation, even though that hypothetical seems to have merit because, like you said, not only Israel, but the entire world is becoming more secular. That does appear to be something which is going to come up, doesn't it? That you're going to be supporting a secular nation, not a actual practicing Jewish nation. So how many practicing? So how many practicing Jews need? Well, right now it's the case. There's more
It's not the
secular
case.
Jews than there are religious in Israel.
I'm showing 44.9%, and you're showing more.
44.9% what?
Jews identify as secular, which means that
Yeah, identify, but then look at practicing. How many are practicing or traditional Orthodox Jews who would follow the Torah? How many?
Okay, well, fucking semantics. Where are we
No,
getting
that's
this from?
important because your criteria is they need to follow this.
What's your criteria? Is it 51%? Is it 75? Is it 82? What is?
I take the
how do
should
we-
not support. Do you understand? I don't need to have criteria because it's not my position, it's your position.
So you don't support any of them because some of them are secular.
No, I have a neutral stance. I don't think the United States should be entangling itself in the foreign affairs of Israel
Well,
and Palestine.
we're not talking about the United States. We're talking about Christians.
Yeah, I don't think Christians should either. I think that
Why don't
having
you think- why don't
having
you
a I already told you. I gave you 6 justifiable reasons, but
Okay.
this aside, it's not your time for cross-examination yet. I would
Sure.
like to finish my inquiry.
Go ahead.
Why is it at what point of secularism would you stop supporting Israel or would you?
I guess 100%.
It would have to be 100%, and then he would stop. So if there's one practicing Jew in Israel, then Christians ought to support the state of Israel. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't find this any less wacky than some of the shit Officer Tatum says. It's the same thing.
So you're just not going to give legitimate answers. Did you move to trolling when you realized that you were getting blown out? Is that what the goal was?
No, you're asking
Was the
me.
goal? The goal was to move to trolling the second that you got blown out, bro. Was that really? Is that really? Dude, would you like to switch to Andrew Tate? Would that make you feel better, bro? You want to switch to Andrew Tate? Would that make you feel better, or would we be more in your wheelhouse if we switched to Andrew Tate?
Are you
So anyway, so back to this. If there's one practicing Jew in Israel, then all Christians ought to support the state of Israel, correct?
Christians should support the state of Israel, regardless of how many Jews are practicing, because we are commanded to by God.
Where?
In Genesis.
Here we
Where?
go.
In Genesis 12, 1 through 3. I will make thee a
Genesis
great nation.
12:3. So can I pull
Didn't he predict that? I think Andrew predicted that.
up my opening again?
Sure.
As I pointed out that you would use which argument for your biblical justification, sir? Would you like for me to read it again?
So God says,
Which argument did I say you would use for your biblical justification when
yes.
it inevitably went to biblical justification?
You called the same argument that I used previously. You're a fucking genius.
Yes, brilliant.
Like fucking bro.
Yes, that's the thing about actually researching your opponent. Did I give you refutations to Genesis 12:3?
Does God make mistakes?
No, of course not.
Okay, so God said, I will make of thee a great nation to Abraham. Yes?
And he did.
So why do you think that God would fuck that up and it will not be a great nation for thousands of generations? Because God said to Abraham, I will make of thee a great nation. And in thee, all the other nations of the world will be blessed. Yes? That is Israel.
Yeah. And who is Israel?
We just talked about this before.
Oh, so Israel's a modern nation state. Can you show me that biblically, please?
No, we talked about this before. I said
No, you can't show me that biblically because you just made it up.
Would you like me to pull up the greater Israel map based on the Bible? I don't have it in front of me.
Do you think that when we switch over to Romans, do you mind pulling that up? Can you go to Romans 9:7-13 for me? Or I'm sorry, 9:6-13 and just start reading, please.
Sure. Romans 9:6.
9:6-13.
9:6 through 13. Okie dokie. Looks like you're referring to Romans 9:6 section deal. So it is not as though God's word had failed, for not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. Sure.
Wait, hang on. So
for not all.
It's not as though God's word had failed. You just asked me a question. Andrew, did God's word fail? The answer is, well, no, God's word did not fail, didn't it? Did it? Because not all who claim they are of Israel are of Israel. Keep reading.
Huh.
No, I agreed with you there.
Yeah, no, keep reading.
All. Okay.
Sounds like the Bible doesn't want us to send that money over there.
Nor because they are his descendants, are they all Abraham's children. On the contrary.
Wait. Read it again.
No, I'm not going to read it again. You fucking heard me.
I didn't hear you.
No, you did. Okay.
You're looking down, bro. You're looking down. So it's hard to hear you.
I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
You're hearing me through a microphone.
Yeah. Can you read it slowly?
My voice is not coming right into your ears.
Can you read it? Can you read it slower?
It's coming through an electronic device that you can hear perfectly fine.
Yeah. Can you read it slower? Go ahead.
So, in other words, it is not the children
go ahead. Keep reading.
Physical descent who are God's children, but it is the children of the promise who are regarded as Abraham's offspring. This is exactly the argument.
Who are the children of the promise?
God's promise in Abraham.
Christians are the children of the promise, bro. Christians, bro. Debate over, bro. Holy shit! You just got fucked. You just got fucking wrecked.
Sounds like I should get Israel.
I'll wait for a refutation. Give me a single refutation.
I can't listen. You're telling me the context. I don't know if that's the context.
Give me a counter context.
Your interpretation of the Bible. You can tell me it's what it is. I'm not going to just believe it is what it is because you said it.
Okay, well then what is it? Then what is it? Then what is it?
Didn't we talk about this in my opening statement? If you're going to
you don't know
me up with a theologian,
you don't know.
And if I don't,
well, then why would you use that as your justification for why Christians ought to do it, dummy?
Told me to fucking look this
up. Can you tell me why Christians ought to use the Bible's justification when you yourself say you don't?
You said to use the Bible. He tells you which verses to go look at, and now you're saying you told me to use this.
Know the Bible? Do you even understand how stupid that is? Like, did you want to get up this morning and stamp "I'm a fucking retard" right to your forehead? Because that's what you did, bro.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm feeling pretty good.
You look very.
I would like to know how it is that you come up with these justifications. Each justification gets blown out. You say if there's even one person there who's Jewish, we ought to support it if they're a practicing Jew. And then you go on to claim it's because God couldn't make a mistake. Give you a passage where God said, I didn't make a mistake. I will have the people of the promise. That was Christians. I've demonstrated it to you. I'm waiting for a single refutation. Waiting for a single refutation.
Misfit, did you want to give a response?
No, I think we'll move on.
To what? To
Which
why
is-
ought? Okay, so let's use your secular arguments then. We can move on to those. What's your secular?
When is my cross reference? When's my cross? When do I get to ask him questions?
Yeah, you can ask me questions soon. We'll just move on to your secular arguments real quick. Can you just tell me what your secular arguments are, the non-biblical arguments, because you don't want to use the Bible now, for why it is that Christians should support Israel?
Yeah, being a decent human being is probably the best one.
Being a decent human being.
Yes,
And how do we know?
The Jews have been persecuted? They've been.
It's decent to arm the people killing babies. That's his Christian stance. Just want to point that out.
And basically genocided by.
Hasn't all people groups
Nazis.
have been persecuted?
Yeah, the Jews got us beat on pretty much every other religion. What was it, 63% in World War II? So
if you're
they're the only fucking nation. You know, you guys talk about the
I just wanna
Palestinians.
make
The
sure-
Palestinians' population has risen by like 2% every fucking year.
I'm granting what you're saying as
but
being true. I don't even care. It doesn't hurt my
I don't.
argument. I'll just grant it. The most persecuted people on the planet. Do you think that if you are the most persecuted people group on the planet, that immediately gives you a right to a thing?
No, not
No.
necessarily.
Okay. Well, then that argument has no merit. We'll move on to whatever your next argument is. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Jewish people being the indigenous people of that land is an argument that
What's up,
somebody
Nappy?
could make, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but then do we need to trace it by bloodline, which you said you don't want to do, right?
no, I'm saying you could trace it by their religion, and you could go back
By their bloodline, right? Like we don't know if they're actually indigenous.
Are we
all
talking about?
peoples
Are we talking about ethnicity? If you want to go back to ethnicity, then yes, right? Because you can trace their ancestral bloodline all the way back 1,200 years before Christ.
Oh, sure, but you have a mate. This is a matron-based religion or matron-based idea for how you assess ethnicity in Judaism. You agree with that, right?
I believe yes, the mother. Yes.
So then this would reduce to the one drop rule. If you have one drop of Jewish blood in you, then you would have rights to that land. Is that correct?
I guess you could say that.
Okay, so so then anybody on planet Earth who has one drop of Jewish blood, one drop, should be supported by Christians for that particular plot of land to be given to them.
Sure.
Why?
Why not?
Okay, well, I guess that's the end of that. You can ask me whatever questions you
Flawless
want now.
It's a legitimate question. Why not?
Well, because there's no justification. That's not justification.
They have Jewish blood. Why not? Why wouldn't they?
Oh, okay. Should you fuck your sister?
So his foreign policy is why not?
Why not? Why not?
No, I mean, you look
Why
like
not?
You look like
Why
you're
not?
getting
Why
rattled.
shouldn't you fuck your sister? Why not?
You look like you're getting rattled again.
Why not?
You've gotten
Bro.
rattled a few times.
Why not?
I've been very calm. You've been a little bit.
Yeah, well, being calm didn't make you get less destroyed. Now, can you answer my question? Why not?
I love it when people debate and they're like, "I just destroyed you," and they
You
just
got
say it
wrecked
over and over.
You're not loving it today.
Real bad this
When
time,
you-
bro.
When you
But
masturbate,
why
you look in the
not?
mirror. You look in the mirror.
I'm just waiting for the why not, bro. I'm trying to demonstrate to you
I
that
can-
why not's not an argument. Why not doesn't mean anything.
Look, man, I get it. You're emotional. It's okay. Look, here's
You
the
think?
counter arguments that point against the replacement theology, right? And this
We're not talking about replacement theology. We're asking about whether or not Christians should support Zionism. It has nothing to do with dispensationalism
It's hard to smoke when you're trying not to laugh.
or
it does have to do with
theology.
It does have to do with suppressionism, right? Because you're taking the Abrahamic covenant and you're replacing it with the.
It's not being replaced.
Well, that's what suppressionism
It's
is.
continuous. Yeah, we're not suppressionists.
Well,
that's not
your
my
opinion.
argument.
That's
What's up,
your
Jeff?
opinion.
And I was waiting for a counter argument for what I just gave you biblically
I
in
think
the
I've given
text.
you plenty of counter arguments. I think it's my turn.
Your counter argument is that you just made it the fuck up. That was your counter argument.
Okay, sure. Emotional again. Promise to Israel, right? Genesis 17:7-8. An everlasting covenant with Abraham's descendants, including land. It didn't hint at an expiration date. Jeremiah 31:35-37 ties Israel's permanence to the sun and the stars. Romans 11, ambiguity. Paul's hope for Israel's future salvation, 11:26-27, undermines full replacement. If God's gifts are irrevocable, Israel's covenant may persist alongside the church. So we got these arguments, right, for why God.
You don't even understand those arguments.
Sure. I don't understand. I'm reading my notes because this is how I prepared for the debate.
Yeah, you don't even.
Okay.
You said you didn't prepare for the
Well, then
debate.
refute them.
You literally said you didn't prepare for the debate.
Refute what I just said.
So where did you get the?
I have a fucking
All
job.
Where did you get the
right,
notes if
all
you didn't
right.
prepare for the debate? You just read them right now, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Like, can you even answer this honestly? Didn't you actually just Google those arguments and then read them because that's what you did, right? That's actually what you just did, isn't it?
How else would you prepare for a debate?
Yeah, no, right now. You did it right this second.
Oh no, I had them already.
Yeah, you had them already.
I did prepare. You want to see the
Do we?
You
do
said
we
you didn't
wanna
prepare.
argue- gentlemen, do we want to argue over his debate preparation, or would we rather get back to the topic?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, tomato. So, would you be able to refute the argument in Genesis 17, 7 through 8, the everlasting covenant that has no expiration date?
Tell me what it means.
Okay, no, I asked you a question. Answer it.
Yeah, I'm asking you to clarify so I understand what it means so I can answer your question.
Well, I'm pretty sure you understand the question. So you don't want to answer questions when I ask them. You just want me to answer.
I just asked you to
You
clarify so that I understand what you mean by the words that
Do
you say.
do you not know?
Do you remember how at the beginning of the debate I asked you a ton of clarifying questions to
Yeah,
make sure I steel manned your position? I didn't straw man it. I was
You
totally
don't
good
know-
faith.
You don't know the Bible? I
Andrew,
thought you knew the Bible. You don't know what Genesis 17, 7 through 8
Andrew, just answer his vague question that you don't understand. Just do it that way.
it is? You can
I'm
do that.
asking you what you think that means.
No, I'm
dude,
asking
so I can
you.
ask your
I'm
question.
asking you to refute the point in.
You can't ask me to make a refutation against something that I don't understand what you're
You just
asking
don't-
me.
So you just don't want to answer the question. So I'm asking you:
Mhm.
does the everlasting covenant have an expiration date? That is
Yeah,
the
no, listen, covenant, the way the covenants work is it's continuous. There is not a secondary last. I just gave you the passages in Romans so that you can understand how this works.
Okay.
Not all people of Israel are going to be Israel. Not all people of this line are going to be the people of the line. Rather, the children of the promise of that covenant, which would be us, Christians, we're the children of that promise.
Okay.
There's my refutation, bro. Anything else, bro?
So your argument.
Anything else, bro?
No, your argument is the God didn't promise the Jews; He promised the Christians, right? And that's refuted by pretty much everybody. He promised the Jews, right?
You
Not by
promised
the
Christians-
Bible.
Christians didn't exist yet. Okay, He promised the Jews.
Is Jesus God?
Yes, under the
Okay,
whole
so
system.
then Jesus was making that promise, right?
Jesus with the with the new covenant.
No, Jesus was making that promise. He is God, right?
Well, He's God in human form. So
No, he's also God. Don't fall for this. You're not gonna get in. You be careful. You're about to get in heretical territory. Is
Sure.
Jesus
Yeah,
God or
everybody-
not God?
Jesus is God.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
yeah.
Jesus was making that promise, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if Jesus is making the promise,
So
and then Paul tells you who the promised people are, is who?
Again,
it's who? Who is it?
again, that's your contextualization.
Who is it, bro?
not mine. Was Jesus a Jew?
Yeah.
Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah.
Okay. And Christians are followers of a Jew. So we pray to a Jew, we follow a Jew, we emulate a Jew, but we're somehow different.
Oh, okay. So then Jews go to heaven?
Well, it's up to I guess there's different variations of Jew. Some of them believe they go to a place like heaven.
No. I'm asking
not
you.
a- I'm
Did
not
Jews
a-
go to heaven?
I'm not an expert in Judaism.
Well, you're a Christian, right? What is the way? Well, hang on. Who's who is the way, the truth, the light? Who is it that you worship, and why do you worship him? You worship Jesus Christ, and absent Jesus Christ, there can be no salvation, right?
Yeah, they go through him.
Okay, got it. And do Jews worship Jesus Christ?
Some of them, Messianic Jews.
Well, okay, wait a second. Wait a second. Messianic Jews are Christians.
Well, pretty much, but they practice Judaism.
What?
They have some of the traditions of Judaism in them, but
the Judaism tradition is that the Messiah hasn't come yet. So if you're Messianic, you say the Messiah has come as Jesus Christ, then
So-
you are, hang on, then you're a people group who follows Jesus Christ. So here's my question to you.
Sure.
If it is the case that Jesus Christ is the only pathway to salvation, wouldn't you have to say all practicing Torah Jews who are in Israel going to hell?
No, because even
No.
though they don't believe in Jesus, Jesus believes
They have
in
magic
them.
blood, right? Give me
No, no,
magic
no.
blood. We're
Even
gonna
though
do
they-
magic
even-
blood.
Listen, and I don't know which passage of the Bible this is. I'm going off of memory, but if
Oh,
you can maybe help
Sure
me
to be
out,
accurate.
doesn't the Bible also say that the Jews will eventually come and accept Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does, right? So just
Yeah, in
because-
the end times. Yeah. Yeah.
So just because they don't accept Jesus doesn't mean Jesus doesn't accept them. Jesus forgave.
Every knee will bow, dude. Every knee will accept Christ eventually, not just Jews. So the
Okay.
thing is like, again, I just got to ask you right now, you're a practicing Torah Jew in Israel and you have a heart attack and you die and it's sudden.
Then
Do you go to heaven?
my interpretation is you would go to Jesus and he would decide whether or not, because he go through Jesus.
So you get a special meeting with Jesus if you're a Jew and you die because of the magic blood. That's how silly this is.
The only way into the promised land is through me. It doesn't mean you have
So
to
when you
worship.
die, when you're Jewish, you get a special meeting with Jesus, and then he says, "Actually, hey guys, hang on, hey guys, actually, I'm real, guys. Did you know that?" And they're like, "Darn, we got it wrong." And then they
Sorry for killing you.
say what?
Is that what I said?
Okay, well then you explain it to me.
Okay, so Jesus says the only way to the promised land is through me,
Yeah.
right? When a Jew dies, I don't know this for a fact. I'm obviously speculating, but
Okay.
based off of that, would it be a crazy assumption to think that when they die and Jesus presents himself, they would be like, "Oh shit, I was wrong," and if they then are accepted by Jesus Christ, then yeah, I think they would go to heaven. That's just my interpretation.
Well, would that only apply to Jews or to everybody?
Everybody. It applies to everybody.
Oh, everybody. So then what's the point of even being a Christian if it's just going to be revealed to you when it's all done? And Jesus goes,
Thank God I'm going to get some prostitutes tonight because I'll just get there and have my special meeting. That's how fucking dumb this is.
"Hey, by the way, I'm real." And they're like, "Oh shit. Well, that sucks. I was wrong. What would be the point of even being a Christian, dude?"
I'm not sure. I don't understand the question.
You're not sure?
I don't understand the question. What's the point of being a Christian?
Faith in Jesus
religion.
Christ.
It's a
Faith
Yeah, it's
faith in Jesus Christ,
not the only
right, is what determines salvation.
It's
You
not
agree
the-
with that, right?
Well, that's what's written. Yeah, I agree. with
Okay,
that.
so if that's the case and you died and had no
Well,
faith
but
in Jesus
for
Christ,
Christians,
all
it's-
you're saying is that Jesus Christ would then reveal himself to you,
You're
which would
talking
take away the faith aspect.
You're talking
Now you would
about-
have knowledge.
You're talking about the new covenant. Okay, there are different religions that believe different things. All right, it's not my place to tell those people what they will experience when they die. All right, you think that everybody has to be a Christian in order to go to heaven. I agree, right? If you are a Christian, you have to have faith in Jesus Christ, accept him as your Lord and Savior in order to go to heaven. I believe that. But if God really is the God of every man, woman, and child, do you think that he doesn't have a plan for the people that don't believe in him?
Yes, they burn. What the fuck does he not understand? What's the whole point of going to church every Sunday, being saved, fucking being baptized? All of that is for a purpose, right? Not just so you can just skip in front of everybody who did do that. If you're a bad guy, that doesn't make any sense.
Do you think every single person, even if they live a good life and like they just go straight to hell, burn in hell for eternity, the devil's fucking shoving a pitchfork up your ass? I don't believe that. So, I mean, call me a bad Christian, but I just don't believe it.
Okay, so when you are brought the word and you reject the word over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you die, then in your worldview, there's a big reveal.
They don't reject the word, they reject the New Testament.
So the word. The gospel means what? What does the
According to
gospel
us.
mean?
Hey, what if we're wrong? What if Jews have it right?
You
Why
are wrong.
aren't you a Jew?
I mean, I'm not saying that I believe that. I'm saying, what if?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, what if would be a logical impossibility from the purview of a Christian, right?
Well, you asked me to fucking make a hypothetical earlier about fucking.
Yeah, but there was it was a logically possible and probable hypothetical even.
This is possible.
Okay, so
Anything is possible.
hang on. So if that's the case, anything is possible or contradictions possible?
Sure.
Illogical. There you go. The law of contradiction. He's already shown he's illogical now.
Oh, okay.
People make contradictions all the time.
Yeah. So an existing contradiction is possible. Like you cannot be you at the same time.
Law of
you're you.
identity.
That's possible.
I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude.
You
Dude
can be
losing
the
the
thing,
debate.
but you're not.
Can we go over
You're the dude losing this debate.
a couple more things because this is getting boring? Jesus
Yeah, that's
never-
nice. I'm not quite ready to let you kind of off the hook
Yeah,
just yet.
I don't give a
I'd like
fuck.
to
what
know.
you're ready
I'd like
for.
to
Again,
know.
You asked a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to know real quick. Yeah,
Allow,
we'd just like to know
allow
real
me for
quick.
just a moment, just to confirm, Misfit, you do have the affirmative side, which means Andrew can come in and try to kind of like tear down your argument since you're in the affirmative position.
Sure.
I mean, certainly that doesn't mean you can't ask questions, but it is his job to poke holes in your argument.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
And I'm also willing to allow the cross-examination like I did and gave you the refutations with Romans like I did.
Mhm.
But also, so I just want to make sure that I get this right. If you actually believe then that if you're on Earth and you're Jewish and you die of a heart attack, that you're going to meet Jesus and he's going to just reveal that he's Jesus. I don't actually understand the principle of Christianity at all and the idea of faith in Christ for salvation on earth, because you would just be given the choice when you die after it's been revealed to you beyond all shadow of a doubt that it's true. What would the point of faith even be? That makes no sense, dude.
This goes against the whole concept of religion. You just don't follow that religion all your entire life. You die and then you get to go to heaven in that religion anyway. That makes no sense.
Yeah, I understand. I was referring more to the Olam Hazeh thing that I read up, and I am Googling it right now, but just hear me out. Okay. Judaism historically focuses on this world over the world to come. But the afterlife belief exists, right? The world to come, literally the Garden of Eden. That's in some of the Talmudic texts. Many traditional Jews, based on Daniel 12:2, expect a bodily resurrection. They believe different than we do.
I'm asking you
point.
about Christians.
But I already told you, I believe what you believe. All right.
So you believe that when a Jew has a heart attack and dies, if
No,
he rejected Christ, he doesn't go to heaven, right?
See, I don't. You keep the gaslighting thing with the rejection.
How's that
Christ.
gaslighting?
They don't believe that Christ is the Messiah. They don't.
So they reject him.
No,
that's
they
a rejection.
They reject him as the Messiah. They don't
Yes.
reject
It's a
him.
rejection.
Do they believe that Jesus Christ is God?
No, but that's
Then
you're
it's
Then
rejection
rejection.
of Christ. That's that simple.
No, you're using it.
Yes.
You're using it as a negative connotation.
It is negative. It's a rejection. I don't like. Listen.
They
Okay.
were-
Let me get this right.
You need to stop getting so.
If
loud.
there
You are
is
going to have
a
heart
if
attack.
there is a trans person, right?
Sure.
Do you accept that they're the gender that they say they are? Do you accept that?
No,
So you reject it.
correct.
Okay. And what is the criteria for you to reject a thing? You don't believe it, right?
Correct. I don't believe.
Okay. Well, then, do Jews believe that Jesus is God?
They don't believe he's God, but they believe
Then they reject him. You see
But
how
they
that works?
believe- they
Basic
believe
logic.
in-
I just dog walked you through it, bro. Very
Yeah,
simple.
but they believe in Jesus.
By his same argument too, the Gazans believe Jesus was a prophet. So should we support them too? We got to support both sides in the war. Does that make sense?
Right?
They believe what about Jesus?
They believe he was a real person.
So what?
Okay, so they don't reject him as
Atheists believe that Jesus was a real person, so they don't reject him?
Sure, they do. They're here. Look, we're talking about two different things. Okay, you're saying it in a negative connotation.
Well, it's because
I've never look. I didn't watch any of your debates. I didn't realize how much of a fucking cartoon character you are, and how much you self fucking masturbate on these debates. You literally anytime
yes.
hold on.
Give me the cope, yes. Give me
Anytime
the
you make a
cope,
point,
yes.
anytime
Yes.
you make a point,
Finish it up, boys.
anytime you make a point, you have this out of body experience where you literally you have a fucking meltdown.
I mean, I've heard some stupid shit
Like,
before, bro.
Look at how awesome I am. Dude, do you have a real job? Like, do you have a job? Like, do you have a 9 to 5?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm revealing idiots. He just did it.
was unlike you. I saw some of your like garbage carpentry. I was a robotics
Garbage
mechanic. Right?
carpentry. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, bro.
All right, gentlemen.
The
All
fact that you said that proves that you didn't look at my work. But I'm asking, do you have a real job or do you just smoke and talk to fucking hookers online all day?
Do
Well,
we
I mean,
want
right now I'm
to?
smoking and talking to someone way less smart than the hookers I talk to.
Oh
I'm serious.
boy.
I would love to know.
All
I
right,
would love to know,
gentlemen.
because
Do we
it's
want to?
behavior.
We can ad hom and throw mud at each other, or we can get back to the topic.
It's just
It's
hilarious.
up to you.
He's a fucking
It's up to
cartoon
you.
character.
I don't know. You're the one who seems to be seething pretty hard right now, bro.
I'm not, man.
You
I'm
seem
fucking
very
perfectly
upset.
calm. You just had a fucking another meltdown for the 15th
You mean
time.
I laughed at your stupidity when
You
you said
laughed
that
at
it's not a
nothing.
rejection, when you reject that
You did.
Jesus Christ is God?
He was literally rolling on the floor laughing, and this dude called it an anger fit.
You did what children do. All
Hmm.
right. Like you.
What
like
is
you
what do you
did
think?
score to
What do you
goal.
think blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is? It's rejecting the divinity of Christ, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and don't Jews reject the divinity of Christ?
Yes, they reject.
And what's the
they
one
reject him as
unforgivable
Messiah.
sin? What's the one unforgivable sin?
I'm sure
Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, bro.
Mhm.
Come on.
Are you about to do another thing where you?
Oh, but I'm sure he'll still let him in, just violating the one big rule.
Come on. Like, how fucking hard is this? All right. Yeah, I'm ready for your cross examination.
There
Howdy.
we go. Okay, hold on one sec.
In fact, like literally whatever you want to talk about, I'm happy to talk about. Whatever it is. I don't even care.
How far in are we?
You're an hour in. It's
Okay, good.
you're fine.
No, I'm not trying to run away from the bait. I told you earlier tonight I am fucking tired, but I will continue. Not tapping out, just checking. Okay. So shit, I fucking lost it. It doesn't even matter.
It didn't. It really
the-
didn't matter.
Zionism argument, right? Let's go back to the modern Zionism, right? Theodore Herzl's reasoning and rationale for wanting the Jewish people, right? Now, I assume that you'll agree that that meant ethnically and religiously, the Jewish people to have a safe space, essentially, a place where they were no longer being slaughtered and persecuted. And he came to this conclusion after seeing he was against Zionism, and he came to a rationale that there was no way that these people wouldn't be hated forever. And I think that you would also agree that they
Wonder
have
why.
been hated and persecuted. You've already said that you agree with me on that. They're the most persecuted people. So Christians, being loving, tolerant people, right, I believe should support that modern Zionism theory, right? Of, hey, just as a good
So because of this guy's theory, we're supposed to love them because they're so awful, everybody else is going to hate them. That's the theory he's going on to defend why we should pay them money still.
Christian, I don't want to see a fellow group of people being slaughtered, persecuted, and what have you. So would you agree that at least that theory is something that Christians should accept or support?
Yeah, so I addressed this in argument too. I'll address it again. Christians should support Zionism because Jewish people deserve a homeland. That's the argument that you're currently making. I addressed it in my opening statement. While it's not a fallacious argument, you would then need to apply this to every other group which exists in order to be consistent, which would include Palestinians. So let's say for a second that you're right, and I grant it.
Hold on.
I'll explain. I'll explain.
Let me just why would you have to apply
Because otherwise you wouldn't be consistent. I'll explain. I'll explain why, so that you understand.
Yeah.
So right now, do you consider that Israel is a powerful nation in the Middle East?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And do you consider that Palestinians are not?
No, I don't agree with that. I think they're very powerful.
Are more powerful than
They're still smoking, man. They're on fire. They're not powerful.
Israel?
I mean, with their backing, then potentially, yeah. They are backed by
No, the
Iran.
nation itself.
It's not a nation.
Okay, if it was. Well, if it's not a nation, then it can't be more powerful than the nation of Israel.
Yeah, it's
right?
a region. It's a region in Israel.
Okay,
Palestine's
I'll just grant it. I'll grant it, right? So Palestine's not even a nation, right?
Mhm.
I'll just grant all of this. So then in this case, right, if they're a persecuted people group, don't they also deserve to have a homeland?
But
Doesn't every people group, in other words, who's ever been persecuted,
Yes,
deserve a homeland?
No. I agree with that. The
Do whites
Palestinians
deserve a homeland?
Huh?
Do white people deserve a homeland?
White's a race, not an ethnicity.
What do you think an ethnicity is?
An ethnicity is an ethnic background. There are only 4 races. There's white, black, Caucasoid, Negroid, Mongoloid, and Australoid. Those are your 4 main races.
Well, that's wrong, Ted. That's old taxonomy. That's old taxonomy, just so you know. You're making a taxonomical classification. Just so you understand, real quick, just so you know. Even if it were the case, hang on, I'll just grant you that it's just an ethnicity, not even. Well, why would you apply it to ethnicity and not race? Why couldn't we apply it to race?
We could apply.
Well, then what's the problem?
Apply it to those 4 races.
So
This dude's the worst debater I've ever seen. He contradicts his own points every time Andrew just asks him.
just to be consistent, why can't
I believe that every single race and ethnicity deserves to live in peace and deserves to have a homeland. So yeah, we'll agree on that. But
then every single race and people group and ethnicity.
Christians should always support peace and being against anybody being persecuted. That
Peace through explosions.
That's my argument. My argument is, as a Christian, you should always support that. Yes, the Palestinian people, the peaceful Palestinian people, not the terrorists, right? Because you need
should be supported.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so then the idea for Christian neutrality is actually the best one, right? Because regardless of who's being persecuted where, we should be neutral in the conflict. That way we can aid whoever is being persecuted, right?
Sure. Yeah, I actually do agree.
Debate over. Debate over. That's the point of the debate. So I kind of think it's over right here.
We should aid the people that are being persecuted. Now,
well, then that's not making an ought claim for why Christians should support Zionism. It's just making an ought claim that Christians should support all people groups everywhere for having a homeland.
These Zionists are currently the ones being persecuted. They're being persecuted by being surrounded on all sides by Islamic terrorists that are trying to kill them. They're trying to exterminate them.
Well,
if you're surrounded on all sides by people who want to kill you, maybe you're awful.
Hang on, let's move into.
We have to do it. We have to do it. We have to do what like the medical term triage, right? Who is currently being slaughtered? Now, this applies to the Uyghurs. This applies to the Arabs in the Sudan. Anyone being persecuted, the Christians should always support them, right? As a good Christian, you should always want to help people who are being hurt by other people. I believe that's full stop, and that applies to every single human being on the planet, right? If you are a persecuted person, a Christian should stand by your side and say, I will be there with you. So that's my argument. And right now, the Jews, the Zionists, the Israelis are the ones that are being persecuted by a radical Islamic terrorist nation that is trying to wipe them off the face of the fucking earth.
Okay. So
whatever news he's watching has determined what biblically we're supposed to support. And Nappy, as for that, he still didn't learn his lesson. He went and debated somebody on Alex Stein a couple of weeks ago. I just put a picture up in the beginning. You can check it out. He's gained a bunch of weight from it. Go check that out. I don't think I'm gonna be doing that one because it's kind of short, but check that out. Alex Stein. It was about 3 weeks ago I saw it, so I don't know how old it is.
So I understand Christians should support
Same
all
arguments,
persecuted people groups, right?
Correct.
In this case, you think that Jews are a persecuted people group, and so therefore Christians ought to support them.
Correct.
However, if Jews become not a persecuted people group, then Christians don't need to support them, right?
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't need to prioritize.
Then the ought is not the support of. Then the ought is not. Hang on, the ought is not then for Zionism. The ought is just any persecuted group.
No,
Christians. Hang on, stop. I'll prove it. I'm going to demonstrate it so that you understand. It's just logic.
He don't want you to.
Just help me out with some logic here. If it is the case that you think all persecuted people groups should be supported by Christians, all, doesn't matter who it is, then if the nation of Israel and the people in it are no longer a persecuted people group, there's no actual reason you can give for Christians to support them anymore. Do you understand?
Well, they would have to remain in peace, but you can let me know when that happens.
Okay, but if they were in a peaceful nation, right? If they're not being attacked, this and that, why should we support them then?
I mean, yeah. What's your definition of support?
Well,
military aid, or like,
support.
Yes, we would. If they were not a persecuted people, they were a self-sustaining, peaceful nation, then of course, yes, we wouldn't need to necessarily support them. But
there's no ought for Christians to support Zionism.
How do you mean?
I'll explain.
You're saying
So your definition of
you're again using a hypothetical that is not based in reality.
It's your hypothetical.
But the Jews are.
It's your hypothetical. Why would you get mad at it? You made up that hypothetical, not me.
No, what you do is you say if, and then you go, okay, if this happens and it's not going to, then we don't need to do it. Yeah, if this happens, something doesn't need to happen. But that thing that you're saying, if it happens, won't fucking happen. Because every fucking person knows that the Jews are going to be persecuted till the end of fucking time for some strange fucking reason, because ignorant fucking people like you keep on trying to fucking gaslight the entire world into thinking that there's some fucking, they're
Projection.
not a victim. They are a victim. They've always
I'm
been
sorry.
a
Can you just point out when I made any claim like that ever?
No, but you're insinuating it with your
Can
fucking
you-
This is what the Zionists always do. What's your motivation for saying that? They want to get into your motivations, not your facts.
show me when I insinuated anything like that ever.
Well, let's rewind later. How about we move on?
So you just made it all up again?
Yes, I made it all up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You made up that all that rhetoric that you just spewed was completely made up. I didn't make any claims. In fact, it granted all of these
You said
as arguments that you're
your
making.
Your argument is Christians shouldn't support Zionism. Okay.
Yeah, Zionism. Yeah.
Your argument is Christians
Well,
shouldn't.
that has nothing to do with Judaism. That has nothing to do with persecuting anybody.
95% of Zionists are Jews.
So
So what?
So okay, so you're saying I don't support 95% of Jews.
No, I'm saying I don't support a thing. Well, here's the thing. I don't support 100% of Jewish belief in Judaism. I support because I'm a Christian. Don't you? Aren't you opposed to 100% of Jews when it comes to Christianity, sir?
No, because they're
No.
we are
No.
Judeo-Christian. We share
What?
a value system.
What does Judeo-Christian mean? What does that mean?
It literally just means Old and New Testament. You apparently want to fixate on the New Testament.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. Do you think that Judeo-Christian just means that because there is an Old Testament, Christians also acknowledge the Old Testament, they follow the prescriptions in the Old Testament, and the covenants they have a continuity, that this means that we're Jewish?
No, I said
We're just Christians.
Judeo-Christian is a shared value system where Jews practice the Old Testament.
We can't have a shared value system. It's impossible.
Why can't we?
Because we follow Christ as our Messiah and his teachings.
Yeah, but
and where do they say our Messiah is currently? Where do they think Jesus is right now?
we also adhere to the Old Testament with the
Looked into
Abrahamic
that.
covenant.
What teachings do you adhere to in the Old Testament, sir? Give me one.
The Abrahamic covenant, the Mosey, what is it? What's it called? The Mosey. I am exhausted.
It shows.
The covenant with
We
Moses.
could tell.
All the promises God made to the Jews. We have to acknowledge those. We can't just
Sorry, help me. I'm
them.
sorry. You said we have a shared ethical value structure.
We
We
do.
do not have a shared ethical value structure.
The Jews practice the Ten
You
Commandments.
follow Christian ethics.
The Jews practice the Ten Commandments. We practice the Ten
Do they
Commandments.
practice them different ways? Do you understand that? Do you understand?
Shared.
Yeah. Okay. So then let me get this right. You have shared ethical foundations with atheists because
Like,
atheists follow the Ten
Do
Commandments.
you have a problem with the term Greco-Roman? Like, why does everybody lose their shit when you put Judeo-Christian together?
It's not the idea of Judeo-Christian being there. It's the idea that you say the reason it's there is because we share ethical value structures. That can't be the
do.
case. It can't be the case.
We do. Ten
I'll explain why it can't be the case. Is
Okay.
Jesus Christ God and Lord?
Yes.
Okay. And do they reject that that's true?
They reject that he's the Messiah.
Then they're rejecting the nature of God. If they reject the nature of God, then how can they know what's good? How can you know what's good if you reject
They
the nature
believe
of
it. They
God?
believe in God the Father.
What do you believe?
I believe in Jesus.
Okay, great. So then your ethical purview has a nature. Your God has a nature.
You're saying that
God, bro, my turn, bro. Calm down, bro. Your
squirming.
God has a nature. If your God's nature is different than somebody else's God's nature, then the ethical foundations in which that God lays are going to be different. Do you understand? Like that has to be the case. So, for instance, you don't follow eye for an eye, do you? You follow turn the other cheek. You follow a universal axiom of love thy neighbors, you would love yourself. These are not that's not part of Levitical law. That's the teachings and the laid down teachings within Christian ethics of Jesus Christ. Those are not shared ethical values, and they can contradict each other. For instance, turn the other cheek directly contradicts eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
these are not shared values. That's an impossibility.
There are things in the Bible that contradict each other because the Bible is open to
They don't
interpretation.
contradict
No,
the
it's not
Bible.
contradict. Listen,
Listen.
those values contradict each other.
Yes,
The,
but
the
the
Bible itself is not contradictory.
but you're talking about teachings in the Bible which are interpreted different ways.
By
Right,
different
Because one
religions.
stops at the Old
By different religions, right?
Testament and the other one does not. And so the thing is we
So
have a
if the-
continuity. Christianity has a continuity between the Old
Mhm.
Testament and the New Testament.
Sure.
But we understand what the teachings and laid down teachings of Jesus Christ are and the contradictory nature of them to practicing Jews or Muslims or any other religion.
Sure.
So then it's not a shared ethical value.
I mean, it's a
Sure, everything I said is bullshit. Sure.
all right. I don't know how much easier I can explain this. Okay. If we Christians follow the Old Testament, we don't ignore the Old Testament, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So we follow the Old Testament. They follow the Old Testament. That means we share the Old Testament with them. And then we also
No.
follow the New Testament.
That's actually can't be true either. I'll show you why.
Mm-hmm.
In the Old Testament, when you're reading it, right? And you say the word God, are you referencing Jesus Christ as part of that?
Well,
No. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
the answer
but-
is yes. And
but-
are Jews? Hang on.
Thought he was all
Are
three.
Jews referencing Jesus Christ as part of that?
No.
Okay. So then the
They
thing
don't have the
is,
New Covenant.
bro, if that's the case, then all of those ethical
That's
values
not
that are laid down, hang on, all those ethical values laid down are laid down by Jesus Christ. All of them. So when you say, hang on, when you say they're shared,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're making this distinction, which makes no sense because they don't follow all of the teachings of Jesus Christ.
They don't follow all of them. No, the God the Father is Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is God the Father. So they are, whether they believe it or not, praying to Jesus Christ. Like they don't,
Yes.
they don't believe
So
it.
our
They-
ethics
So God fooled them into being Christians. That's what he's saying.
are correct. Their ethics are not
yeah,
correct.
in our
So they
opinion,
can't, so they're not shared, dude.
in our belief system, the Jews, according to us, unknowingly are praying to Jesus Christ. Okay, because he is God the Father. It's the Holy Trinity.
Tricked
That's what we believe. So if they
I
are
like that.
praying to the same God as us, it is still a shared value system.
No,
Because
they
they're
can't.
praying
No,
to the same
they're not
God. They
praying
just don't know it.
they're not praying to the same God as us.
They don't think they are, but they are.
Can't. No, okay, then they're not. Then they're not.
They are.
Do you think that you can accidentally pray to Jesus Christ?
Well, if Jesus Christ is God and they are
Mhm.
praying to God, then yes,
They're praying to a different God.
No, they're praying to Jesus Christ. They just
How
know it.
could it be the same God if
He's thinking just because they both say "thank you God" that they're talking about the same guy. They're a bunch of gods. Is Zeus the same? Like, is Yahweh the same as Jesus? This makes
it has no
Ugh.
triune nature, dude?
No, they don't believe it, but they're
Then
doing it.
they're not praying to the same God.
They don't believe they are, but they are.
So if I came to you and I said, there's a demon that I pray to who has all of the same values as whatever the Jews believed
They're not
their
praying
God
to a
had, the
demon.
nature of whatever Jews said their nature of their God was. I said, this is a demon that I pray to,
They're
right?
not praying to a demon.
That's not what I asked you. I'm not asking you
you're
if they're
doing
praying
another
to a demon.
hypothetical.
I'm just saying if that was the case, wouldn't you be able to determine that it was demonic or not based on the fact that if I rejected Jesus Christ, that would be what would make it demonic, right?
It's a false equivalency. They're not praying to a demon. They're praying to God.
Oh, and Jesus Christ is God,
Correct.
and they're not praying to Jesus Christ.
They are.
They are.
They don't know they are, but if Jesus Christ is God and they are praying to him,
Uh-huh.
they are praying to Jesus Christ. I don't know how many fucking
This is
times
so
I said,
stupid.
right? They don't know it, but they're doing it because we believe in the new covenant. They don't. Okay. So
Mhm.
if Jesus Christ is God, you got God, who is
Leave it to the Jews to find a way to use trickery to get into heaven.
Jesus Christ. He stays God and he stays Jesus Christ the whole time, all the way up through the entire Old Testament. Now, just because they reject the New Testament, if they are praying to the God of the Old Testament, they are still praying to Jesus Christ.
So shouldn't it actually be Christian Judeo values then?
Sure, if you really want to get
Because wouldn't it be actually that the Jews get their values from Christianity because Christianity was there in the very beginning because Jesus Christ is God?
Well, that's the whole argument about omnipotence, right? He exists outside of time, knows everything, sees all. So this is why he forgave the Jews.
So they took some values. So essentially, so from your view, then Jews took some values from Christianity.
Yes, God knew.
But we don't share values with them. They took some values from us.
God knew Jews were going to reject him, as you say, right? And he forgave them anyway. He blessed them anyway. He made the covenant with them anyway. He made promises of land anyway. If he understood all that and did it anyway, why are we, or not we, you rejecting what he fucking did?
Here, I'll help you really quickly with a single question, and it'll completely refute everything you just said.
I'm sure.
Do Muslims pray to the same God?
The Muslims do not pray to the same God. They worship Allah based on Muhammad.
Well, Allah just means the word. That just means God, right?
Based on Muhammad's teachings. Muhammad was a pedophile. Their Quran is not the same book, so it's not the same God.
Like Epstein.
If it was the same
right?
book, then yes, it would be the same God. It's a different book. It's called the Quran.
And in this book, the Quran, do they reject Jesus?
No, but it doesn't matter because it's a fucking demon.
Do they reject Jesus as God?
Doesn't matter. It's not.
Can you answer my question, please?
Bible.
Do they reject Jesus as God?
They think that he's a prophet.
Yeah, they reject him as God, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, great. And isn't that the way that we can make sure that their religion is false and not true?
Their religion is false because it's not the Bible.
What do the Jews think Jesus was? That could solve some problems. One thinks it's a prophet, and what does the other one think?
Yeah, but if they're praying to the same God that the Jews are praying to, which they claim they are.
No, they're just calling it God.
Oh, I think the Jews are just calling it God.
No, because the Jews are praying to the same book as us. We can keep doing this dance all night.
Yeah, but so are Muslims then by that logic. They're praying to the same God as the Jews. So that's what they say.
It's not the same book. You're talking about a different book.
It says in the Quran.
You're talking about a reboot. You're talking about a reboot.
It says in the Quran to follow the Old Testament. It says that there's nothing in the Old Testament that's false. No.
But the Quran is not the Old Testament.
Oh, I agree. The New Testament is not the Old Testament.
The Quran is not the Old Testament.
And neither is the New Testament.
Yes, but the New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament.
Oh, no. Well, yes, there's a continuity, but you reject the continuity. You say there's two covenants.
Well, no, there is two covenants because you can't break a fucking covenant.
No, there's a continuity in covenants. It's all the same covenant.
So you have the Abrahamic covenant, right? And then you have a new and everlasting covenant. New does not mean that it's the same, it means new. So a new and everlasting covenant is basically saying, hey, I got another one for you. It's not, hey, this is replacing that one, or it's the continuation of that one. You
want to back that up with biblical fact?
No, but I'm sure you're going to.
No. I
told you at the beginning of this, I'm not a biblical scholar.
If you have biblical arguments, makes no sense.
You fucking invited me. This is the same dumb argument.
I didn't invite you. I didn't even set the debate up.
You're the one that told me let's debate, and I said,
yeah, and then I forgot. I completely forgot about it the next fucking day. What do you mean?
Hit me up and said Andrew wants to debate you, and I said sure. This is the same thing.
Let me correct the narrative here. I did see the Twitter feed or X feed, whatever, and I reached out to Andrew and I asked if he wanted to do this, and I reached out to you.
I apologize.
So this is me. It's I like to go digging through the X arguments. Yes, it is my fault. Blame the woman. I will take it. It's okay.
Look, Andrew, I want to say something.
Like Andrew Wilson was dying to get a hold of Misfit Patriot. Fucking loser.
I'm not running from the debate. I am extremely tired. I'm dealing with a lot. I don't know if you follow, but my mom's sick and everything. It's been a nightmare.
You're running, bro. You're running.
Sure. I'm extremely tired. I am going to bounce, but I'll give you another. Is 10, 15 minutes okay?
So here's where the rage quit begins.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we agree to call it in 10, 15 minutes? All right.
Yeah, because Yeah, I mean, because you're running, but yeah, sure.
Sure.
So,
I have a big boy job.
I told you you're trapped in here with me, bro. I'm not trapped in here with you.
Well,
So
I thought, I
thing,
thought that you wanted this debate. I just found out Ragin is the one that fucking catfished both of us. So that's a complete.
I don't feel
that changes-
catfished. I'm
that
happy.
changes the
I'm
whole
happy to
game.
be here testing this insane logic.
Yeah,
I just
you don't have to get up for work in the morning. I do. I understand.
Yeah. So back to this. Oh, well, I mean, what do you think that that just because I'm a successful streamer now at this point in my life, it didn't work for most of my life, including why I built my streaming career? Because it did.
I think that you built it off the backs of a bunch of fucking whores. But go
You're
ahead.
doing it right
You
now.
built
for one.
yours on the back of nothing. So
No,
anyway,
no fucking
thing
trophies.
is like again, you're in here with me. So I just got to ask, I just want to make sure I got this right. If the nature of the God that the Jews worship is not the same nature as the God that you worship, but you still think you're praying to the same God.
Okay, we're going to do this one more time, right?
Mhm.
The Old Testament is our book, correct? It's their book as well. A Quran is not the Old Testament. So if the Jews are following the Old Testament in the same text and the same teachings that we are, they are praying to the same God as us. We believe that God is Jesus based on the Holy Trinity.
So it's
They-
a different God.
No.
It has to be. It has different nature.
Again, same God. They don't realize, because they don't follow the teachings of the New Testament, that what they are in fact doing is they are praying to Jesus, which is why he forgave them. He's omnipotent. He knew all of this was going to happen. He forgave them anyway. And he says in the Bible, they will come around eventually. And like you said, in the end of days. But
So
he's-
are Mormons Christians then?
I don't fucking even know anything about Mormons. I
What about
haven't
Jehovah's
read their
Witnesses?
plates.
Are Jehovah's Witnesses Christian? Well, Mormons, I'll just give you the Reader's Digest version.
Sure.
Mormons believe that a prophet named Joseph Smith found golden plates in the ground. Based off of the reading of the golden plates, he added a few addendums to the New Testament.
I did then no. I don't think so.
But I don't understand. They worship
just giving-
Jesus, though.
But do they read the Old Testament and the New?
Yes.
They read the Old Testament and the New,
Yes.
but they added something on top
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
Well, I mean, they think they are.
Yeah,
I
but they
don't know.
worship Jesus, so you have to say they're Christians, right?
If
They worship that God, right?
sure, then I'm no, they're not Christians. They're Mormons, right?
Well, what makes Mormons not Christian?
Well, that's true. If they were,
How do we know that the aliens, the Scientologists are always talking about aren't really Jesus too? Like maybe they're worshiping the same God too. Maybe we got to let them in too. How about that?
worship Christ and they are Christ followers, then I guess they can call themselves Christians. I don't know. You're literally telling me what Mormons are for the first time. That's how little I give a fuck about Mormons. Are Protestants Christians?
What about a cult? What about cults which believe in all sorts of bizarre shit based on their interpretation of the New Testament and the Old Testament, but they still follow both books? They just pray, and when they pray to God, they believe that God is like the Gnostic form. You're a part of God. You are God in a sense.
Or an alien?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Like
Don't know.
I don't. You're telling me for the first time. Could you repeat that? What was it?
So Gnostics believe that we're all inside the dream of God and they're part of
Uh-huh.
God. They believe everything in the Old Testament's true and the New Testament. They definitely, when they pray, think that Jesus is part of God, just like you.
Uh-huh. Well, then I guess I mean, just based off of that definition, I guess Christians are Protestants Christians.
Well, I would put the criteria of people who believe in the Nicene Creed are that's the baseline that I would accept for Christianity.
You don't know what that
Can you
is.
explain that?
You don't know what the Nicene Creed is?
Nope, I do not.
Yeah, I don't even know. Need to go much further there.
So you don't want to do the same thing that you asked of me earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I can if you want to get into the so the Nicene Creed was founded at an ecumenical council for basically just this in order to have Christians repeat the creed so that Christians could recognize other Christians who didn't believe in heresies and all sorts of things like this. In modernity, you'll find that at least a good portion of Protestants do at least repeat some form of that creed, and all Orthodox do, Catholics do as well. You should know you're Catholic, or at least you said you were.
Mhm, yeah,
The Nicene Creed is a real big deal in Catholicism.
Sure. Now, like,
even though you didn't know what it was 5 seconds ago.
no. I clarified this in the last debate. I'm a Catholic because I was baptized Catholic. That's what I'm supposed to call myself. According to the Catholic Church, I'm a Catholic for life.
Yeah.
Right. So that's basically that's the only reason why I say it. I do not follow the church anymore. Right. I believe that the current modern church is a man-made institution. I don't agree with a lot of what they do. I don't agree with the politics that they get involved in. I don't agree with covering up pedophilia. I don't agree with a lot of things that are going on.
Well, I mean, that's not really just to help you out with some refutations to that. The public school system struggles with far more in the way of PDF files than anything Catholic Church ever thinks. And do you know why? It's because predators go where there's kids. It doesn't matter where.
I understand completely, but
what
I'm saying is the actual institution that covered it up, even though whataboutism, it happens over here, I can't support that. So
I just want to be good faith in finishing answering your question for you, right? Sure. So I would at least have to take that as a baseline for even discussing theology with a person, that we at least start with the Nicene Creed. Now, I don't think that people outside of the Orthodox Church are true Christians at all. I'm at least willing to start with the baseline of the Nicene Creed to get into theology and things like this, so that I could perhaps make convincing arguments to people or assist them with coming over to Orthodoxy.
Sure.
So just to be very clear, yes, I think that you do need to be a part of the body of the Orthodox Church to be what I would consider somebody had the fullness of the truth. But I would not make a salvific claim and say that that you're going to go to hell or something like this. I wouldn't make such a salvific claim.
Now, the reason I ask is, obviously, I'm sure you saw the other debate because it was short. The guy Jay, he said that Protestants are heretics, and he made it as a very generalized statement. So I just wanted to know if you believe the same thing. If you're a heretic, I assume you believe that they're going to hell. And my argument,
well, heresy. So in order to be a heretic, it's not just the idea of bad theology. It's the idea of bad theology plus refuses correction. So there's many examples of people within the Protestant church you would call heretics, like Mormons.
Sure.
You would tell Mormons they're heretics because they believe in a false prophet named Joseph Smith. And you try to correct them, and when they won't take correction, then they fall into heresy, right? Okay. So Catholics would say the same thing about Protestants, and so would Orthodox, and Orthodox would consider Catholicism, at least most people in the Catholic faith, to also be heretical. Yes. Okay.
All right. No, I appreciate you answering that and having a respectful dialogue as opposed to the last one. And my question is, it's not an assertion or anything like that. How do you reconcile with the majority of Christians not aligning with your definition of true Christianity?
They do.
Right? Well, I mean, you got 900 million Protestants.
First of all, Catholic Church is the biggest denomination of Christianity.
I think 30. Well, sorry, maybe I shouldn't have said majority. 30. I meant to say a vast portion. 37% is the statistic I looked at.
Not only that, Protestantism is made up mostly in the West, but if you go to the East, Orthodoxy, Catholicism still has a big foothold in Western theology as well. And look at all the spinoffs from it, like Anglicans in England, things like this, which are all branches which branched off of Catholicism itself. So the thing is like, no, I don't think that you can even make a good fallacious appeal to authority here, or appeal to majority here, because I don't think Protestants are not the majority.
No. I misspoke, and you got me on that one. I think it was 37%, if I'm looking at the statistics correctly. And then there's the evangelicals. They make up a good chunk, I would say. Yes. And based off of those two demographics, Protestants and evangelicals, the vast majority of them do support Zionism. And I believe that your argument is
Catholics and Orthodox don't. So we actually have them outnumbered.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and like I said,
and do you know why we don't? We don't for the reason of no good justification to say Christians should. If you could have given me good justifications in this debate, if I was ready for them, I had every argument ready. If there's a good justification ready, I'm ready to hear it. But you didn't give a single good justification for why it is that Christians specifically should support Zionism. And it's like, and you don't really have a good one, man.
Yeah, you're just telling me I don't have a good one. I think mine is pretty damn good. I believe.
Well, can you just reiterate it real quick before you go?
Okay, again, the Abrahamic covenant is a forever covenant. God is omnipotent. He doesn't make mistakes. He promised them land. He promised them a great nation, and he promised it to the Jews. And then the fact that Jesus forgave the Jews, even the ones that rejected him and crucified or helped crucify him with the Romans. I think that to emulate Christ would be to forgive and to support the same people that he did and that he was a Jew.
But I just want to let you know that your reiteration, what we actually started with was this definition that Zionism is the right of the Jewish people to live in Israel and have that land. And now your definition of support is not that they have that land. Your definition of support is just if they're oppressed, that Christians come to their aid. I want to let you know that I actually changed your own view on your own definition of Zionism before this debate was over.
You didn't. I just reiterated it in a different wording, but that's okay.
So do you think that
I just fucked up my own definition.
Christians that Christians do need to support their right to that land?
I think that when you say right, I mean live in peace. All right, and again, to support them based off of the teachings of the Bible, like I just mentioned, I'll repeat it one more time. The Abrahamic covenant, which is forever because God's omnipotent. Jesus forgiving the Jews. Jesus blessing the Jews. Jesus being a Jew. I think that most people, right? And I understand that you are way more versed in theology than me, and you are interpreting that theology. You seem like a very intelligent person, but you are interpreting.
But he can't get to the point that, hey, maybe you're just smarter and better at this than me, and maybe you're right. He never gets to that.
It in your way, based off of your teachings. And there are many other Christians, and I'm referring to all Christians, not people that you believe are true Christians, who do support Zionism because of the same views that I have. So in order for you to say that Christians shouldn't support Zionism, you should reword it as Orthodox Christians shouldn't support Zionism because this is what I believe. And I'm telling you, there is a huge huge swath of Christians who believe they're Christians, who I believe are Christians, because as you know, the church that Jesus founded was not a man-made institution. It was an idea of gathering. It was wherever you gather and worship me, that is where the church is. It wasn't Orthodox church. It wasn't Protestant. It wasn't Christian. It wasn't.
That is not the case. It's not biblically supported.
It's pretty much what the Peter
pretty
and the
much.
rock, and there's many interpretations of this, right? And this is the thing about.
But I'll just grant all of it. I'll grant all of it, and still your position is untenable. And here's why: even if you give the descriptor of most Christians support Zionism, I won't even argue with that. I'll just grant it for the sake of granting it. It still doesn't give us a justification for why they should.
I just told you
just say they should support Jewish people because of the old covenant. But you're not making a case for why it is that modern Jewish people deserve the land and have a right to the land of Israel, even if there's only one, if there's only one practicing Jew there.
I think you understood that I was trolling you in that. But either way, if you try
you trolled yourself, man.
If you're trying to lock me down on a number and you keep on moving the needle, I'm just going to say fine.
Asking a question is moving the needle.
But do you understand that all I was doing is testing your logic to see if it was consistent?
I know you're using debate tactics that you can.
That's not a tactic. Like I can do great debate tactics. This was just purely taking your logic and taking it to its logical conclusion.
I understand. What I just said, I could repeat it one more time, but I don't think I need to, right? The vast majority of Christians believe what I believe because of reason. We're not just making it up. It's not just out of thin air. We're not all illogical. We're not all dumber than you. We're not all wrong. There's at a certain point you have to.
Well, there is no you all.
But you have to acknowledge that there is a huge portion of Christians that support the Jews and their right to exist in their homeland. And there is a reason for it. I just tried to explain the reason to you. You're saying I'm wrong. We can agree to disagree on that. But these people exist. People like me exist. All right. And we are a huge part of your faith. So trying to find.
Yeah, but people like you should create justifications that make sense.
I just did.
Yeah, no, you didn't. You made a bunch of assertions that you say, based on this biblical passage, that means that modern Christians need to support the modern state of Israel based on this one passage. And then when we go through, and then hang on, and then when we go through the continuity, of it, we get to absurd conclusions like the one drop rule. You have to actually concede the one drop rule here. All Jews who have one drop of Jewish blood then would have to be entitled to that homeland. Can you tell me why that's not the case?
I think that you're making an argument. I think you're doing this again. You're posing a hypothetical, which is not based in reality. Nobody has one drop of Jewish blood.
Well, actually, no, this is based in reality. So
how do you have
there is a right of return. There is a right of return where you are tested. Hang on, where you are actually tested to go into the nation, to be accepted into the nation. There is a right of return, not just for Israel, by the way, but for tons of countries. There's a right of return in Western European nations as well.
Yes,
right.
Talking about
hang on. How do you make the determination who gets to go?
Are you talking about ancestral DNA and what have you?
Yeah. How do you make the determination who gets to go?
All right. If you adopt a child, is it your child?
No.
It's not your child. If you adopt a child,
it's not biologically your child. Yeah.
Not biologically, is it your child?
I think you can have claim that that's your kid.
You can have claim that that's your kid. Okay, so the people that are accepted as Jews by Jews and live amongst the Jews are part of the Jewish faith and the part of Jewish family. The biology of it, the one drop of blood, doesn't necessarily matter.
Then how do we know biblically we're supporting the right Jews?
Well, because if they follow their version of their faith,
they're secular.
Which is the Old Testament. I mean,
and if you have a secular nation, which is not following that faith, then we should not support that nation, right?
You're saying another hypothetical. We do not have a secular nation. We have a nation that is made up of secular people and religious people.
But if the nation's laws are based on secularism and not on the Jewish faith, and most of the people they're practicing are not practicing traditional Judaism, then how do we know we're supporting the right group?
Well, I mean, you will agree that there are Jews in there that are practicing the Jewish faith.
So again, we get back to the question one: how many do there need to be before we know we're supporting the right ones?
I guess we'll never know the answer.
You will never know the answer. Okay,
we'll never know the answer. Honestly, man, you know what? It was a good debate, and I appreciate you doing it, man. So
you're welcome.
Thank you, and Ragin, I appreciate you catfishing the both of us. And I have got to get. It's 9:54. If my head's not on the pillow by 10, I'm gonna miss work tomorrow. So
that's okay.
I'll talk to you guys later. I appreciate it.
How much sleep do you think he's gonna be doing? I don't think there's gonna be a lot of sleep going on. I think he's gonna stare at the ceiling for about 7 hours.
Thanks, Misfit. I appreciate you.
Later.
Andrew, can I ask a question? It might be a dumb blonde question.
That's a rage quit. Rage quit.
But
he said Jay Dyer did. He said Jay Dyer rage quit, but whatever.
That's fair. So for the Zionism, does that, like, the whole time I've been presuming this argument based on like Western nations like America and so on and so forth, but I mean, Christianity's global, right? So would that include all of these other countries outside of that supporting Israel as well?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't.
Yeah. So the idea. This came down so that you understand.
I'm gonna jump out of here real quick. That's the Raging Tomato. They used to do a lot of debates, but they had a big blow up, so they don't communicate well anymore because women do what women do. But let me end this one here. I will see y'all tomorrow. This one was just wild for me, man. I could not believe how dumb his arguments were. So I got to go watch the Alex Stein one. If y'all really want to see some more of Misfit Patriot's debate skills, he went on Alex Stein. I think it was about a month ago. I saw it about 3 weeks ago, so it could have been a little longer. But he was terrible there too, I'm assuming. So I'm gonna have to go watch it. And man, wow, I was just in shock by some of the shit that dude was saying. Let's end it here though. Peace.